this is Michelle Nessk, and you are listening to the Movie Rage Show.
It's time for the movie rant. Tonight's victim is actress, producer, director Michelle Nessk, and has done many films such as 13 Fanboy, Nest of Vampires, and Aftermath. Hello.
Hi.
What have we been doing?
How you doing?
Doing just fine. Now, what have we been up to lately? I know you're involved in a project that involves you ghostwriting something. Can you tell us a little bit about that and who's involved with that, at least?
I can't really say much about who it is for or anything like that. It is cool to be able to do that. It helps me pay my bills. You know, I get to work with people that I've always admired, and so I consider myself very lucky for that.
Well, that's very cool. Is this a change of pace for this project for you, or is this something that you haven't really experienced as much as you'd like to? Is this for this particular project that you're working on?
As far as ghostwriting, I've been ghostwriting professionally for 6 years now. I've been published under my name under a series of anthology books, from Tiny Hollow to a few upcoming books. Some of them run within the Dungeons and Dragons universe. I'm also working on a graphic novel. I'm really excited about that. Ben is a very accomplished artist and filmmaker themselves, and they made the movies Gamers and Gamers Darkness Rising, and they were involved with the resurgence of ElfQuest, which has a lot of really cool Star Trek alumni involved. Otherwise, I'm primarily a filmmaker and an actress and a writer and a producer. So the movies that you mentioned, I'm a producer on all of those. I'm really excited about them. Nest of Vampires is out in the UK. Aftermath is in Hungary. 13 Fanboy, of course. Pretty much all existing Friday the 13th alumni, and it was written and directed by Deborah Voorhees. So I'm really happy to have gotten to have, my name attached to that project. It came from a franchise that I absolutely love because I love Friday the 13th. Yeah, to get to have my name next to hers on a project that she did is such a huge honor. I'm actually wearing my 13 Fanboy t-shirt today. Let's see, we did 333 Illuminati with Deborah Lamb. Deborah Lamb is pretty well known. She's an icon to me. Like, she was in Beverly Hills Vamp. She was the sexy vamp. Absolutely love her. Phenomenal actress. I made Mother's Day Cigaros with Barbara Manuelsi from Dario Argento's Suspiria. She played Olga. Also Mom, Mothers of Monsters. There are so many good found footage films, but yeah.
As far as working in various projects, like you mentioned, wearing so many different hats, do you think an artist needs to test art as well as challenge it, not just overcome its challenges?
I think no matter what you do, there's going to be obstacles and challenges. It doesn't matter if you're, trying to start a business or making sandwiches. It takes effort, and you just have to really want what you're going to be doing. If your drive is primarily financial, or if your drive is primarily for fame and notoriety, there's going to be a lot of disappointment, but if you're just doing it because, you really, really want to do it, you just feel completely full, then, the obstacles are worth anything in life, really. There's going to be a kind of compromise and a lot of hard work. If you have a passion, you kind of accept those things, and you hopefully find a way to adapt and work around it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, having to take that challenge, some people want to challenge the art itself. What can the art offer them? And having to make themselves a better artist or getting the goals out there that they wish to succeed with.
Yeah. Unilateralis in particular, I think, has had some of the biggest hurdles, some of which I, don't discuss publicly, and then others fully open to talking about. I think the biggest hurdle is the type of film that it is. It's into multiple genres, and one of those is the rape revenge genre. And there's been a lot of discourse lately about why rape revenge films should not exist. And honestly, the rape revenge genre is one of my favorite subgenres. I find them cathartic, just an extremely important subgenre, personally. So I think that's one of the bigger things as far as something that I have to contend with often when it comes to public opinion is there's always a probability that someone's going to be like, well, I saw your movie and I'm very upset with you because they don't like rape revenge. I don't know if I expected to run into that discourse. I just knew that I wanted to tell a story and hopefully include some social commentary that would stick out to people. You know, ultimately leave people feeling a little inspired, make better choices, or, you know, maybe hopefully help people. And also pay attention to when the CDC has chemical spills.
Yeah, directing and acting and extensive work, especially in the horror genre. Do you think there should be a balance of diversity of the horror, or do you think there should be build of duality of what horror is, even when it's at its peak point?
I think horror is the one genre that we could always depend upon to be diverse. If we look back over the history of horror films, we saw more women empowerment in horror films than we ever saw in sci-fi. Sci-fi had to catch up, and I love sci-fi, but it's a fact. We saw more diversity overall in horror films, and again, sci-fi took a really long time to catch up, and like we had all these antiquated displays of racial politics, but it was white people and aliens. Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting choice. And so, like, modern-day sci-fi has caught up with horror in that aspect, where we see a full-on representation of people from all walks of life, lifestyles, identities, and I think that's really special. You know, as far as myself, like, in the industry, I'm Puerto Rican and Mexican indigenous. I'm really, Tacataino. I'm very proud of my roots and my family. I just want them to be proud of me, you know. But, you know, wearing as many hats as I do, it's really nice to be able to, when I'm writing or when I'm directing, I have the ability to choose who I want to be involved, and I keep it very broad and open, and because everybody should be allowed to participate in horror. I am very specific about the roles that I take. Like, I wouldn't come in and try to take, like, the role of predator's prey. Like, that's not a role for me. Do I feel a sense of representation in it? Absolutely. I think every indigenous person does. But would I take that role for myself? Absolutely not. Because there are other doors that are open for me. That's not my place, like, to take.
You know, contradiction and confliction is okay, especially with horror, because it is a subgenre for an emotion. Do you feel like that is an actual emotion for many people? Because horror is such an important part of our lives in terms of role.
Well, yeah. I know for myself and a lot of people I've spoken to. So, I mean, I'll use a royal we, but understand, and not everybody fits under it. I think a lot of us really like the horror genre in the sense that it does give us comfort. Like what I was talking about with the rape revenge genres, there's a sense of victory to it usually, and there's often a final girl no matter the genre, and so we get to see someone that is presented to us as, you know, potentially incapable, potentially weak, but she fights and she survives, or he fights and he survives. And I think that can be a very comforting thing. And when we step outside of realistic horror films and we go into like creature features and stuff like that, I think those are really good because life, our waking world, is very chaotic. We never know what's going to happen. A jet engine could fall right here, right now, on my head. I don't know. So the idea that, like, in a world of big, scary potential possibilities, you can sit back and watch, like, these big monsters grab people by the feet and they drag them across the hall. And it's like, wow, I'm really glad there's not a big monster grabbing me by the feet and dragging me across the hall. And I think maybe a lot of people feel that way, and so it's kind of comforting because we didn't take a moment to be scared of a boogeyman. You get distracted enough to not be scared of like what could potentially go wrong in like real life. So I think ultimately the horror genre is like this big, cozy weighted blanket science fiction. I think it's one of the most important genres that we have in all forms of art.
Do you think that the visions that you help provide or give within the works in the horror genre, do you think that is an example to people, that gives them an example in their lives that the life is much more great than what it is, and take aim for what is to come?
It's hard to be objective about your own work. You know what I mean? Like, what I do know is when I'm telling the story, it's very important, and I have, like, to me, I know that I have to put my foot down to make sure that the important things aren't removed. But as far as, like, me sitting there and being like, yeah, dude, my work's the shit, you should just, like, give me everything, that I can't get into that mentality. I can say that I have had a lot of positive responses, you know. I don't want to just focus on the negative ones. I've had a lot of wonderful responses about my character, Abigail Wallace, in O Unilateralis. The way that I wrote her was to represent every woman, every single woman, but I built her as like this stereotype of the perfect victim, while also making her a contradiction, because there are too many things that people would be pinpointing, like, no, this is why she did something wrong. I have never met a woman or a femme who hasn't felt like they've been in Abby's shoes. And so I've gotten a lot of that feedback from a lot of women. I've had some really wonderful, cheerful exchanges. You know, it's mind-blowing because I knew I wanted to make these things. I wanted to tell these stories and everything. Other than when people tell me, I don't know. The only thing that I do know is O Unilateralis is important. It is in that it has raised so much money for charities. It's basically my workhorse for a cause. And I think in that I could say yeah. But as far as my prowess as an artist, I'm still growing. And I'm still learning, and I'm just really lucky to have gotten to work with the people that I've worked with, and that I've gotten the kind of support that I have. And I just hope that anybody who is checking into finds something that hopefully touches something in them, either a fear response, something relatable for them, where, like, maybe they'll feel understood. And ultimately, my biggest hope when I'm making something is that my family and that my friends will be proud of me for doing what I love and finishing a task.
Directing a character and being a character, do you think there's a subtle difference between the two? Between being that character, of what that character represents, and then directing within that character as far as your future works? Do you think this makes a subtle difference in between the two, or do you think this is an ongoing example that you wish to represent of what you're going for in terms of vision?
When I am directing myself, I kind of go into a We Are Legion mentality. So it's interesting because as a director, it's like my first films, I was told by my wonderful DP, Con Buckley, the way that I directed reminded him of directors from the silent film genre. Get very animated and have them inflect, and we would ghost walk with each other, and, you know, so that we could get the mannerisms right. And I personally found that to be a compliment. So, you know, so being able to be the director in my head while I'm acting, yeah, it's just We Are Legion kind of thing. Like, I'm doing it, and the director in my head is like, okay, now drop your head to a tilt and look up to the side, but do it with a split-second interval and then look away again. And when it's done, I get a little nervous. I initially only acted in my own stuff because, well, the first time was I casted an actress, and she ended up getting drunk and not showing up. And we were right there on shoot, and it was my first film, you know, like first serious film. And I was like, oh. So I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? And my producer, you know, who was the one who was financing the project, was like, well, today is now or never, and we need someone who knows the lines, who can fit in the dress, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but she's supposed to be a blonde, and whatever. And I ended up taking the role, and we filmed it, and then we shot it off at festivals, and it won some awards, and kind of happened as a happenstance a couple more times. And then it was like, you know what, this is actually kind of fun. This might sound weird, but as a director, there's kind of like, when you want a very immediate reaction, there's this part of your brain that wishes you could be one of those little aliens in Men in Black that live in the head and, like, you know, use the gears. Like, oh, I wish I could just crawl into your skin and, like, do these things. Wow, that sounds fucking creepy. But the point remains. And so when I'm doing it, I actually didn't get to crawl inside the skin because I already live here. This is my epidermis. It's grown to be a fun thing, but I initially, when I first started doing it, it was begrudgingly. But now I love it.
Go and plug in any websites or any projects that you'd like to promote that we can check out right now or is about to be released pretty soon.
Well, let's see here. Just the Pick is on YouTube channel. This is Guru Productions. And then 333 Illuminati is on my YouTube. They're also touring in festivals. I'm really excited about 333 Illuminati because of the short version when it's out, but we are in production right now for the full feature version, and it's a soft sequel and like a full feature version, so they go hand in hand like companion pieces, and I'm really excited about that and all the people involved. I want people to watch that one a lot. Let's see here. My film Unilateralis is touring in Brazil right now, so anybody who's in Brazil who wants to check it out at several theaters out there, which is very exciting. All the proceeds are going to local shelters out there. Again, I like the idea of wherever she's at, Unilateralis is benefiting that local area. 1,000 women in horror from the 1800s to present day. So that was really cool, and it was written by Alexandra Heller, really cool, very respected in the horror genre as a journalist, and she's one of the foremost experts on found footage and revenge horror. So, that was really exciting. I didn't know I was in the book until Tanya Atomic called me and then sent me a picture, and she was like, "There you are!" And I was like, "I wanted them! I wanted the people!" So that was exciting. My film, Just a Girl, which is an experimental art piece, was included in Shevenge. Last I checked, it was on Amazon. Of course, 13 Fanboy. I'm a producer on that one, and that one's on Showtime right now. So if anyone wants to watch it, they should watch it and then tell Deborah how fucking talented she is, because it is so fun. Like, Corey Feldman is hilarious in it, and Kane Hodder is funny as fuck in it. Like, everybody is just such a riot.
And there you have it, everybody. That is Michelle Nessk.